Jan Kochanowski was a Polish Renaissance poet who established poetic patterns that would become integral to the Polish literary language. He is commonly regarded as the greatest Polish poet before Adam Mickiewicz and the greatest Slavic poet prior to the 19th century. Kochanowski was born at Sycyna near Radom, Poland. Little is known of his early education. At 14, fluent in Latin, he was sent to the Kraków Academy. After graduating in 1547, at age 17, he attended the University of Königsberg in Ducal Prussia and Padua University in Italy. At Padua, Kochanowski came in contact with the great humanist scholar Francesco Robotello. Kochanowski closed his 15-year period of studies and travels with a final visit to France, where he met the poet Pierre Ronsard. In 1559, Kochanowski returned to Poland for good, where he remained active as a humanist and Renaissance poet. He spent the next 15 years close to the court of King Sigismund II Augustus, serving for a time as royal secretary. Kochanowski settled on a family estate at Czarnolas, Blackwood, to lead the life of a country squire. In 1575, he married Dorota Podlodowska, with whom he had 7 children. Kochanowski is sometimes referred to in Polish as Jan z Czarnolasu, John of Blackwood. It was there that he wrote his most memorable works, including the dismissal of the Greek envoys and the Laments. Kochanowski died, probably of a heart attack, in Lublin on August 22, 1584.
Welcome to Poland Daily Culture. I'm John Carter. And on today's episode, we're going to be discussing Jan Kochanowski. I'm joined here today by Radosław Rusnak, expert on Kochanowski's life and times of the poet, author and translator. So, Radosław, I want to start off, maybe we can paint the picture for viewers about the time in which Kochanowski lived, which was the 16th century. Maybe you could tell us how Poland and, in fact, wider Europe looked at that time.
Absolutely. The 16th century is very important in Polish history. We became one of the biggest countries in the continent, together with the Great Duchy of Lithuania. People got wealthier. There has been an important economical growth because Poland exported a lot of grain abroad, and that's why the noblemen got wealthier. And there has been a group of people ready to pay for culture, to get men who wrote poems for them or praised their names, their kings, and to commemorate them in poetry, for example. And Kochanowski was a clear beneficiary of this call for culture, for intellectual values, and that's why he could develop as a poet and as a translator. But this is the reality of the whole continent. So the humanism gave people that will to reach for the goals they didn't have before. So a lot of young noblemen went to, for example, Italy to study, to get the knowledge of ancient culture, and this is the background from where the Kochanowski developed his poetical skills, and the stay in Padua in Italy, where he studied, where he got to know the wise men of the epoch, the Italian authors of his epoch, made him really well-rounded and great poet who he became.
Now, you're saying he was a great poet, so maybe you could tell us, for people who are not so familiar with his work, what exactly made him such a great or memorable poet?
Yeah, for the 16th century, the crucial thing was erudition, I would say. So to be a great poet meant to get to know the ancient authors who they could emulate, and to take from their works and develop it in something their own. And Kochanowski had an opportunity to get to know a lot of ancient works. The former authors didn't have this opportunity because of humanism. The people who really took care of preserve the works of ancient authors, and that's why he could really benefit from this and develop it into something meaningful for him and for his readers. That's what's important. He covered a lot of topics important for the society he lived in. So he didn't write only about his emotions, his experiences, but also spoke in the name of monarchy, in the name of noblemen who he represented, and he became really a national poet of the epoch. For example, talking about the state, the necessities of defending the country against the threats from abroad, for example, Turks or Moscow. So he wasn't afraid of taking topics who were important for the whole society or the noblemen of his time.
So it's almost as like a social commentary as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So one thing is his private, very subjective part of his works, and the other thing, the social topics he covered.
So I guess, in a sense, it's not just for people necessarily interested in the cultural aspect, but also from almost like a historical aspect. It might give you a kind of window into those times.
Absolutely. And he was really interested in all sorts of things, all sorts of environments. He wrote poems based on the folk culture, imitating the songs of the peasants. It's called St. John's Eve and was recently translated in English. He captured a lot of ridiculous moments of his courtesan life. He spent almost 10 years at the court of Krakow, where he could meet a lot of people who he portrayed in his trifles. But also he lived a really harsh experience when his daughter died, a 4-year-old daughter, who he really thought she would be his successor in terms of making poetry. So when she died, she wrote 19 trance, who became really a national treasure and one of the most important works of the old Polish literature. So a lot of topics, a lot of things. He's a man interested in life, in many aspects. He's not anymore a religious, only religiously oriented poet as it used to be in the Middle Ages. He really enjoys life, and he shows it in so many aspects of it.
How was it that he managed to relate then to all kind of different aspects of people? Because already you've kind of listed like sort of peasants and folk culture. You've mentioned noblemen, monarchy. So how was it that he had connections with the kind of whole strand of society?
It must be something in his capacity of hearing things, seeing things, capturing anything what's important for him or interesting to him. So the life itself becomes a theme that's important for him. It's portrayed in so many ways, in so many different forms of poetry, both in Latin and in Polish. We should remember that he took off as a Latin poet because Latin language was much more developed in Polish of this time. So he tried first to emulate the ancient poets like Horace or Tibullus or Propertius, and then he switched to Polish to really enrich his native tongue and make a huge impact on the way his successors, the younger poets, express themselves.
Yeah, so he went. Maybe we could just touch on like the way in which his sort of life panned out. Now, when did he leave Poland and move abroad?
In younger years, it was common for young noblemen especially those who had sources to do that, or a financial backer who allowed to get this opportunity. So when he was in his 20s, he moved to Kaliningrad, which was a German city, a Protestant city where he studied. And then he moved to Padua in northern Italy, when he studied ancient literature, but also had the opportunity to see the world, see the people there, see the culture, and that really influenced his works until his death. So he often mentions I don't know, the Venetian harbor, or the way of the customs of Italian people, and especially his love affair of the time, which he portrayed in his elegies and then in his songs. The stay in Padua, or in Italy in general, made a huge impact on his works overall. And then moved to France and back to Poland. It was 1559 when he came back ultimately to Krakow, to Poland.
So how long was that period that he was away for?
A couple of years. There were 3 stays in Italy, but in total they lasted more or less 5 years.